Hey everyone. Okay, how's it going? Thank you for joining me. If you don't mind, I wanted to give you guys a place to chat, but if you can give me like 5 minutes because I need my coffee, I need to let my dog out, and then I'll get started. Okay, everyone. So I wanted you guys to have a place to chat. Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome back to Whole Truth. I'm Gil Arbel, your attorney. Thank you for all the great people in the chat. I'm such a dork, but I just joined Jay Witt at the last minute, and I saw that everyone was looking for a place to go, and so I asked my wife. I'm like, "Hey, can I do it live?" She's like, "Really?" Because she's usually watching TV, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'll just be an hour or so." So she granted me permission to do a live. I wanted everyone to have a place to go. So Hi, Jujubee, ex-samurai, Nikki for Freedom, the eclectic journalist who I'm super excited to do something with Monday. Rana G4Y, Patrina Rich, nice to meet you. I don't know if I've met you yet. Mindy Ann, hi, love you. All of you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna finish my Baron Coleman analysis on Julian Dorey, but I'll pass that along. Hi, Alita. I'll pass that along to my wife, Nikki. But I saw that he also posted a second. Julian Dorey also posted a second one of Baron Coleman, which I think also has the pathologist. I forget his name. So I don't know if any of you have watched that, because I didn't finish the first one. I figure let's finish the first one, because I was enjoying talking you know what about both of them, and I don't like to hate on people, but I'm not a fan of what they're doing. So
I started to make that timeline point a couple minutes ago, but didn't want to go on that other thing we'll talk about after, so I can make sure I know what I say. But wasn't there also, like, with these Discord...
Okay, let me see this.
Timeline point a couple minutes ago, but didn't want to go on that other...
Okay. That would create an echo, so... Okay. Okay, so let's...
Messages that did look...
And just for everyone's awareness, I had like 2 or 3 videos. I think I deleted one of them, but it was just a few minutes long. No, I have one video that's like an hour and a half or so from yesterday, where I went through the first 2 hours or so. Well, first I had like one video that was 16 minutes or so of this interview. Then I had to end it. Then I did a second one, but that one was just a few minutes. I took that one down. And then this third one, then I had a third one. That was the longest one where I was going through this. And now I want to finish this one because I haven't heard any actual evidence presented. I heard a bunch of speculation, a bunch of judgmental nonsense about Erica Kirk, a bunch of possible conspiracies with no evidence, a bunch of political discussion that really I don't give a crap about either of these guys' political leanings. But I want to actually hear Baron talk about some of the evidence and see what he has to say. So I'm going to finish this, and then that probably might be my hour allotted by my wife, but I'm going to speed it up to 1.5. If there's any other time, then I will go on to something else. But mostly, I just wanted to give you guys a place to chat because I love this group of people.
Some of them highly suspect from the get-go to me, but wasn't there something where some of them were allegedly sent after he allegedly had been arrested, according to what the story is?
So there's a lot of debate on that. I was looking at the filings, and I noticed in the defense's filing that they made along the way, one of their filings, they referenced a timestamp when Tyler invoked his Fifth Amendment right to silence, but they didn't put a date on it. It just said 6:25 p.m. And so I thought, well, 6:25 p.m., where was that? So I was looking for context clues in that statement, and he made a comment about the lawyer's office that I want is closed for the night. He said, I'm looking for a lawyer here. His name is XYZ, whatever his name was. And it looks to me like he's very clearly invoking his right to remain silent for the first time. If you assume that 6:25 is accurate, I don't know why the defense would put the wrong time in there, so I assume it's accurate. You look and you say, well, there's really only 2 options of when that conversation could have taken place. It could have taken place on September 11th, which is a Thursday, which is the day he turned himself in, or it could have taken place on September 12th, which is a Friday, which is the day after he turned himself in. And even on the official narrative timeline, that 6:25 p.m. would be like 21 hours after he turned himself in. And so knowing those two facts, it has to be one of those two times, 6:25 on Thursday or 6:25 on Friday. Go back and look at the context again. I'm looking for a lawyer here, named so-and-so. Well, here would have been Washington County. That's where he turned himself in because the lawyer he named was practicing in Washington County. He wasn't practicing in Utah County. He wasn't from Utah County. It's 4 hours away. Why would he say I'm looking for a lawyer here? Then he says, my parents are trying to get in touch with him. His office is closed for the night. Closed for the night, not the weekend. If it's 6:30 on Friday and you say the office is closed for the night, what lawyer opens up on Saturday morning? The fact that he's saying my parents are trying to get in touch with him means that he had just spoken with his parents.
I mean, it seems kind of like sometimes you might say he's closed for the night, meaning that it's the end of the day. It's closed for the night, even though you mean closed for the weekend. So, anyways, it sounds like this is a lot of speculation. I'm not too familiar with the actual time that Tyler Robinson invoked his Fifth Amendment. According to this, it was, the defense says it was 6:25 p.m. But Baron Coleman is saying that we don't know if that's 6:25 p.m. the 11th or the 12th. So maybe somebody in the chat, if you feel like it, maybe you could do a chat GPT or something search if you feel like it and find that out. But let's see where they're going with this, because I think that even if he invoked his right, that doesn't necessarily mean that he couldn't send out Discord chats.
And knew they were trying to get in touch with him, and that his office was closed for the night. That's more consistent with a Thursday night where he had just spoken to his parents minutes before than it is Friday night where he hadn't spoken to his parents in 21 hours and has no idea what his parents have been doing for 21 hours. Maybe they did get in touch with a lawyer. Maybe they've already gotten him. Maybe his office isn't still closed for the night. We have no idea what's going on. So I looked at all those context clues, and I raised the possibility that conversation actually took place on Thursday, not Friday. Well, if it took place on Thursday at 6:25, it took place an hour and a half before the Discord messages went out at 7:57. And so that led me to believe it's possible those Discord messages were fake. They weren't from him at all. And they're inconsistent with taking your right to remain silent. You're going to invoke the right to remain silent to the sheriff, but you're going to confess to anybody with a link to a Discord chat forever? That's going to be there.
Yeah. Criminals do some stupid shit. And the one thing that it seems like from all the evidence is that Tyler Robinson did not really know what he was doing. He did not know how to get away with it. I mean, we're gonna make the assumption that he did send the text messages and stuff. Those are super incriminating. I tell people all the time, if you're gonna say something incriminating, pick up the phone and call the person, because text messages stay forever. Phone calls, somebody would actually have to be actively listening in. It would need to be bugged or something, or whoever you're calling is recording it. Otherwise, it disappears into the ether. So, Tyler Robinson doesn't seem like he knew what he was doing, based on the text messages and just general behavior. 1 second while I let my dog in.
Forever?
Yeah, it's very.
Anyone who
It's kind of hard to argue against people when everything is faked, so I can't say that. I can't use the text messages as evidence, because then they just argue that the text messages are fake. I can't use the DNA as evidence because they'll say the DNA is planted. So it's like, okay, you have nothing. If your answer to everything is that it was faked and planted, then yeah, I can't point to that evidence as context for other evidence. Hi, Save Smiles. I love those ballerina jujubes. Favorite emojis. I still think that they look like girls in bikinis, though. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. I don't know.
ever gets that URL can log in and see your confession, but you don't want to but you want to invoke your right to remain silent, and then go back to his text messages to Lance Twiggs. I intended to take this to my grave. Okay, well, you're taking it to your grave, you're talking to your alleged boyfriend about it, and then you go and confess to a Discord chat that you don't.
So now they are using text messages to provide context. So I say that allows me. Yeah, he said he intended to take this to his grave, but he couldn't because he was about to be found out. He effed up. He left the gun. So that's the context of that. The Discord chat, I think, I think when he was turning himself in, he understood that the game is over here. You know, he wasn't turning himself in thinking like, oh, I'm going to fight this and beat this. I mean, this is speculation, but it seems based on the evidence available, which is all we can go off of, that Tyler Robinson was pretty much resigning himself to the fact that he's done. He got caught. Everything is pointing to him. You know, he's screwed. So that kind of explains the context of the Discord chat. He's like, yeah, it was me. It was me yesterday, everybody. Thanks for the good times. I did what I had to do. I personally think that Tyler Robinson, well, this is going to be actually pure speculation. So, yeah, I was going to say that I think Tyler Robinson is almost of the opinion that what he did was worth it because of his views. But then we heard from Tyler Robinson saying that he regretted it. He wished he didn't do it. He was very anxious and stuff. So maybe that's off. But in any case, it seems based on the evidence available that he was pretty much resigning himself when he was turning himself in to the fact that he's screwed. I don't think doesn't seem like he was saying to himself, I'm going to put up the best fight ever in my defense. I have this perfect alibi. I have anything, you know? Doesn't seem like that. And the alibi situation, to me, it's one of my favorite arguments to make here is why is Tyler Robinson not presenting an alibi? Yeah, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, but you can still present an alibi in your defense.
Not even met all these people in there. You don't even know who all these people are. It's totally inconsistent. So I looked at all that and I concluded that it very likely was a Thursday afternoon invocation of his Fifth Amendment rights, not a Friday afternoon invocation. And if that's the case, do we have any other context clues? Well, we didn't at the time. But a few weeks later, a couple months later, maybe a month or two later, the defense filed.
You know what? I'm kind of confused about that because I thought he turned himself in around 9 p.m. I thought that was pretty much agreed upon. So I am going to go to my chat GPT where I uploaded all of the search warrant affidavits, the preliminary hearing testimony, and everything else. And I'm going to ask when he turned himself in and when he invoked. Because we could get to the bottom of this pretty easily. Okay, so December 11th, at 8:04 p.m., that's when Utah County Sheriff Mike Smith received a call from Washington County Sheriff Nate Brooksby. Brooksby reported that former Deputy Mike Mitchell, that's the family friend, that Tyler Robinson texted that he's surrendering himself. This is one of the strongest texts against the idea that all these texts were faked. Because how would the people framing him know how he's choosing to surrender himself? So anyways, Tyler Robinson texts that he's going to surrender through a sheriff neighbor friend. That's this Mike Mitchell guy. Arrangements were being made for Robinson to surrender without confrontation at 8:04 p.m. 10:26 p.m. is when he arrives at Washington's County Sheriff's office. That's September 11th. So the idea of when he invoked, we're going to take it at face value, what Baron Coleman's saying is that he invoked at 6-something p.m. I according to my chat GPT, which is based on all the materials I provided, it doesn't say anything about when he invoked. But I don't see how when he invokes, he probably invoked, if he was smart, he probably invoked his right while he was arranging the surrender. But again, according to the evidence that I have and the documents I have, it's not clear. Obviously, Baron Coleman is referring to something different filed by the defense where they say 6 something, but
this prosecution rather files an exhibit list. And on the exhibit list, they list out by bait stamp number the exhibits they tend to offer. One of those is Tyler Robinson in the Washington County Sheriff's Office on September 11th. That's the same bait stamp number that was cited in that original 6:25 p.m. timestamp. So I look at that and say, no brainer. Obviously, that was September 11th at 6:25 p.m. This is a huge problem. Third context clue came during the preliminary hearing. They wanted to show that his clothing, when he turned...
okay, so I don't see why it's a problem. He can invoke before he surrenders, and to make sure that he's not going to be interrogated without counsel, and still have his phone with him and sending chats. And I think that we saw him with his phone in the Washington County Sheriff's Station, which was around, according to Baron Coleman, 10:30. So I don't see why when he invoked, that's like some sort of cutoff for when he's sending Discord chats.
himself in was consistent with what he was wearing on that day. So they wanted to show him at the Washington County Sheriff's Office in the maroon t-shirt. When they do, they zoom it in so you don't get the timestamp on that security footage. That was a big indication to me that very well could have been that. The fourth context clue is one of these press outfits in Utah. I don't want to cite the one because I don't want to cite the wrong one, but one of the press outfits in Utah wanted to get a copy of the footage of him turning himself in. They wouldn't release it to him.
Do you think they'll release that at trial?
I honestly don't know, because turning yourself in is not part of the crime. So they don't have to. You could convict them without turning that in. It's possible we'll never see that. And then they lied to the press and said that they had deleted it because it extended beyond the retention period.
The prosecution said that?
The Washington County Sheriff's Office said that. And then the Washington County Sheriff miraculously resigns in March of this year under a cloud of suspected bad behavior. And so I put all that together, 5-6 pieces of context clues, some of which are really solid in my opinion, like the base stamps number. And I think some of those Discord messages may have come after he turned himself in, which raises suspicion on every statement that he made about he did it.
Have you spoken?
No, it really doesn't. When you invoke, doesn't mean that it has anything like, oh my god, you invoked your rights, therefore you're not allowed to do anything. You invoke your right to counsel whenever the hell you want. You don't even have to be under arrest. You're still allowed to invoke your right. So he could still be sending Discord chats. And even if the Discord chat, if the Discord chats were faked, that would be evidence of, something else going on here, But that it doesn't necessarily contradict that every other piece of evidence is false. But it could be that somebody else had access to his username or handle, whatever. But the point is that the invocation, I don't see how that has anything to do with a deadline. Waffle S-Files, thanks for joining. Do I think Barron deliberately knows he's a Nazi? He hasn't really... He said some conspiratorial stuff about Israel here, implying that the motive for the assassination of Charlie Kirk was the Iran war. I got into that yesterday in my video. By the way, everyone, please subscribe, share, comment as you're doing. Continue doing it. But beyond that, I haven't seen him go down the rabbit hole of Jew hatred. I don't know if he does in his other shows. But yeah, I addressed the whole idea that this was because of the Iran war, because Charlie Kirk would have been opposed to it. To me, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. Israel wouldn't do that. That would be so risky for Israel to do something like that, based on such a speculative prediction that Charlie Kirk would be opposed and that Charlie Kirk would have clout enough with the Trump administration to actually prevent it, and that, To risk losing your only real ally in the world, the greatest superpower when you're a tiny country that's surrounded by enemies and everyone hates you, to risk all that to take out an American public beloved commentator in such a brazen way in broad daylight, to have to involve so many entities and people and convoluted, planning and plotting. If Israel were that stupid to do that, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I addressed that in the last video. So I don't know if Barron is Barron a Nazi kind of guy? Does he go down the Jew rabbit hole?
Spoken, and if you can't talk about this, no problem. But have you spoken with any sources in or around or in some way connected to the knowledge of like the thinking of his family and where they stand on whether or not, at this point, whether or not they believe he actually did it?
Yes, they don't believe he did it.
So is it fair to assume you're referring to like his mother and father don't believe that?
Yeah. There's a guy on X. I know him. I believe him. I have personal knowledge that he has spoken to the grandmother, and that's well known.
It was the grandfather's gun, right? That was the alleged thing.
Yes.
Okay, yep.
And he has spoken to the grandmother, and I've seen text messages between the family. They don't believe he did it. They deny that he confessed to them. They deny that that he turned himself in because he was guilty. They don't think he did it. Now,
did they think he did it at the time?
No, they never thought he did it.
They never thought.
And what's miraculous is
that's not really what we've heard. Does he have anything to back that up? This was actually the clip that I saw that made me want to watch the whole thing, because I'm really curious, like, what he's talking about. If he has any way to back it up, his parents have a First Amendment right to come out and say that we don't believe our son did this. Okay, if they're under a gag order as potential witnesses, this is part of the problem with practicing. I haven't had like such high profile cases, as I haven't encountered these things, but they would be fighting that gag order in court, and there would be more to it if they really wanted to come out and publicly say that our son is being framed, all these things. I haven't seen any evidence to believe that. I don't think that there's any. Yeah, an eclectic journalist is right. I mean, obviously, parents don't want to believe the best in their kid. But my understanding is that they accept it, they saw the surveillance footage, they recognized it, they saw the photos of the rifle. They probably know that their son was becoming more and more politically radicalized. And beyond Baron Coleman saying this right now, there's been no evidence presented that his parents don't believe it. So, take with what you will. I'd like, maybe he can provide some evidence to back what he's saying.
Is that we get to the preliminary hearing. We've been told for 10 months by TPUSA people, by their spokespeople, by their hangers-on, their paid contributors. We've been told for 10 months that he confessed to his parents, and that's a key component of this. That's why we know he did it. He confessed to his parents. He turned himself in. He confessed to his parents. He turned himself in. We heard this for 10 solid months. We get to the preliminary hearing. They're not even on the witness list. Like, you talk about bulletproof probable cause. If your mom gets on the stand and says,
they already have bulletproof probable cause. They didn't need to do that. Now, could they have done it? Yeah, they could have done it. But they didn't need to. They already put up more for probable cause. I mean, I very rarely speak with certainty and absolute. I'm a lawyer, so I know better than to say I'm 100% certain about anything, because you never know. But I'm as close to 100% certain as I can be that this case will be bound over for trial. I mean, if it were not, the prosecution would be appealing it like immediately to, because the evidence is overwhelming. So they didn't need to do that. There could be any number of logistical or ethical or whatever reasons why they didn't want to put the parents on the stand. It might be that they just didn't want to subject the parents of the accused right now to more torment beyond what is necessary. I don't know. But to say that's like somehow indicative of what anything one way or the other, I would say no. Then again, also addressing this is that but Saves, I like the trolls. The trolls help the algorithm, don't they? And I haven't gotten any trolls. I feel like that would be like an achievement to start getting trolls. And then somebody can help out with the moderation. But where was I? So another thing, yeah, this is common, is they keep pointing to inconsistencies by statements by TPUSA or Erica Kirk or Jack Posobiec or Benny Johnson, as somehow that's evidence of Tyler Robinson's innocence. And just like I don't point to statements from any of those people as evidence of Tyler Robinson's guilt, the same thing. So that he keeps saying, oh, they're inconsistent by what they're saying. Who cares? Let's ignore what all of the outside people outside of the investigation and outside of those witnesses that actually have personal knowledge of the facts. Let's ignore everything they say. Ignore that Jack Posobiec said that we saw it in 4K, because we don't know if he's telling the truth or not. Now there's dispute, so it's not evidence either way.
Yeah, he told me he did it.
Yeah, you're fucked.
It's over. We don't need a trial. I mean, at that point, I'm going, well, maybe I'm wrong this whole time.
Could part of it, I gotta ask it this way as a devil's advocate, could part of it be like, there's no way my baby did that? And like, it's just setting in after enough time to think about it, being like, you know what, I just don't believe it?
If his parents told law enforcement that he did it, that would be documented. If you put him on the stand and they deny that he said it, you impeach him with the documentation.
It was documented from what I saw. Let me look that up on my ChatGPT. And I'm not just asking ChatGPT based on general knowledge. I uploaded all of the case documents into ChatGPT. So that's what it's basing its answers on. Because I thought that was on the probable cause for the arrest. Okay, yes. As reflected in the search warrant, so my question to ChatGPT, and again, this is not based on just, it's inbuilt data. This is based on all the documentation from the case that I uploaded to ChatGPT. So I just asked, did Tyler Robinson confess to the crime to one or both of his parents? Give me the source / document. Yes. And this is the answer. Yes. As in the search warrant affidavits, the public record says Robinson confessed to his father, not that he separately confessed to his mother. The clearest language appears in search warrant number 3217031, page 4. It says that former Deputy Mike Mitchell, so this is the family friend, told law enforcement he had received a call from Robinson's father, and that Tyler Robinson confessed to his father that he was the shooter at Utah Valley University. So here's a good counterpoint that just came to mind. I should have mentioned it earlier. He keeps saying, why didn't the prosecution put up the parents? But according to him, the parents could have been called by the defense to say that they brought him in not because he confessed, and in fact they believe that he's being framed or something like that. The defense has the right at the preliminary hearing to call witnesses as well in their defense. And in this case in particular, the judge was very permissible to how much the defense was able to call. You know who they didn't call? They didn't call the parents or the family friend to dispute the basis for the arrest, which would be a big thing to dispute at the preliminary hearing. Because if there was no probable cause for the arrest, then a lot of the other stuff that came out after might be inadmissible. But the defense didn't call them. Defense didn't subpoena them. And apparently, this same account is repeated in multiple other warrants. And I see it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 other search warrant affidavits repeat the same account. In one of them, it says that he separately told his mother, or told law enforcement, separately noting that his mother told law enforcement he had expressed suicidal ideation. Which, I don't think that means much by itself. So, anyways, I'd say that the defense could have called the parents just as easily as the prosecution.
He didn't tell them. I'm telling you, that is so much evidence that they've been lying to us this whole time.
In fact, it would be probably easier for the defense to call, because it would be, the guy's parents, they'd probably be more willing to testify. Whereas a prosecution, another reason why the prosecution might not want to call the parents to the stand, especially at a preliminary hearing stage, is that they could get up there and lie. They could have changed their mind and be like, look, I'm going to lie for my kid, right? And then what? Then you're complicating everything. You're going to have to cross-examine. You're going to have to pull out the paperwork to impeach them, and all these things. It's going to make a messy record. So if you don't need to do it, why not? But the defense, if they were consistently saying that my son is innocent, what have you, and have any corroboration for that, the defense is more likely to call. Does everyone follow that?
Weird. Otherwise, we'd have heard from him.
What do you make of and it'll be interesting to talk about this with you and Joseph, to go back and forth on it, because he's more familiar with the actual process and what it could or should have been. But what do you make of the handling of Charlie's body from what we know from when he was declared dead at the hospital to when there's video taken that we can determine around the time it was taken of Erica allegedly over his casket, where he has an embalmed body being prepared to be flown back to Arizona, which was less than 24 hours later, or around 24 hours later?
It's too fast. Way too fast. We also have a filing from the defense where they talk about the...
Way too fast. I mean, not according to the mortician. I didn't watch that, but, not according to the mortician, it wasn't too fast. How do I get somebody to do moderation for me? By the way, you guys, if someone else is going live and you want me to stop, let me know. I don't like to step on anyone's toes.
Autopsy photos. And the autopsy photos, they want all of them, and they said they were all dated September 10th. He died on September 10th.
Right.
He allegedly didn't even get to the medical examiner's office until close to 9 o'clock that night. The autopsy was done by midnight. I mean, I'm looking forward to the conversation with Joseph, because I'm curious if that sounds unusually fast. I would think they would be autopsying a warm body at that point. When did they cool him down? The standard, I think, and he'll know more than I do, but from what I can tell from the people I've talked to, from the research I've done, it looks like most of the time an autopsy is done with a body that's been cooled down to below 40 degrees. And when did they cool him down? That's a 6 to 8 hour process. And why such a hurry? Why do it in the middle of the night? Why not, if you're going to do an autopsy and it's only going to take a couple of hours, come back at 8 o'clock in the morning when everyone's fresh, had a night's sleep, gotten a good breakfast, drank a cup of coffee. All right, let's roll him in here. He's been cooled down. Let's see what's going on in here. Nothing's changing between 9 p.m. and 8 a.m. Why this massive hurry?
I would think the opposite. I think that you would want to do an autopsy quick before the body starts. I don't know how quickly bodies decompose and stuff. This is a eclectic. I just added you as a moderator. I think I'm starting to get more legit. My first time having a moderator, but I don't see anybody that needs any moderation. But still, just to be able to say that I have a moderator now. But yeah, I mean, if you guys want me to, after this, we can go start watching the latest Julian Dorey one with Baron Coleman and the doctor. I guess he just said the name. But it was the one that Julian Dorey interviewed before that basically said the 30-06 could totally, he explained it very scientifically, how it could leave that sort of wound.
So I'm very much looking forward to that conversation. I have no interest in trying to change his mind on anything, but I have a lot of questions that I think he, as an expert, would be able to answer.
I think it's going to be amazing because like the combination of you looking at it from an investigative litigation standpoint and him looking at it strictly from a forensic standpoint will be great. Because that was the other thing that when I had him in here, I didn't do a good enough job of, making it clear. With him, we're just looking at like the forensics of it. Yeah. All the other stuff around it and the things leading up to it, that's not his lane. But, we'll talk about it tomorrow because you're going to be here as well. And it'll be interesting to see if those worlds kind of collide. But I remember, and I called him like a few days later when I was thinking about it because I put together the timeline in my head when she put out that post of like when that must have been based on when that flight was at 5 p.m. or whatever to go to Arizona the next day. And I was like, that just seems like, this is a very high profile killing. I would think you're doing a little extra. I know everybody is supposed to be treated the same, but I'm thinking, maybe you do a little more crossing the T's and dotting the I's with this one, with a public execution like that. That's just me, but I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what he thinks there. But also, I referenced it a little bit ago and forgot to ask you about it. Obviously, when a scene like this happens, it's chaos. People react in weird ways, in certain ways. That includes people in the audience. But again, public event, we have different videos of the immediate aftermath. You see weird things like someone taking down the camera, taking out some cards, and then, that whole thing and whatever. Was there anything there besides the security team that we kind of talked about that stood out where you're like, that doesn't make sense at all? I don't know why someone would do that in that scenario.
Yeah, I mentioned Dan Flood stepping forward and touching his arm. I'll say it's on blue in the face. That was
something Baron mentioned yesterday. He thought was very suspicious. Somebody went like this. That's the level of evidence that he's presented, really. Somebody went like this. Not an exaggeration. Watch my video yesterday. That's what he talks about. He says somebody did a signal. Why would anyone rub their arm like that? If it's not to signal, to a Mossad agent to take a shot, because Mossad agents work in baseball signals, why else would you ever do that? I mean, at a certain point, it's just silly. Hi CJB, I think you're new here. Please subscribe. You moderate on several channels. I'm gonna make you a moderator. Just to know that you're always welcome.
the weirdest thing I've ever seen from an alleged security person. And if you take that video footage and you line it up with what's going on the roof, which has been done, it's even weirder because you see lots of different things taking place. No longer is it just Dan Flood stepping forward. Now you have Brian Harpole taking a step back.
Right.
He had been standing roughly in the same position the whole time. He's now, there's a woman who comes from behind the screen right as the guy starts to get into place, and she hands him some mints, he said. And he takes.
So person stepping forward was strange, but you know what was even more strange? Person stepping backwards. Safe Smile says they were supposed to stand perfectly still the whole time, right? Because that would not be strange, right? If they were just like, after seeing a shot, you know, like in chaos, they just sat perfectly still. Then Baron Coleman would be like, that's not suspicious, right? So if you step forward, it's suspicious. If you touch your arm, it's suspicious. If you move your hat, that's suspicious. If you step backwards, that's really suspicious. The only thing that would be suspicious, according to Baron Coleman, is if you just stood there like a statue. It's silly, you know, honestly. If these people didn't have so much followers and weren't making so much money, it would just be funny, right? It would just be like, this is just a joke. But they have a lot of people are buying this crap, and they're making a lot of money. I mean, what do you guys think about this $500,000 to Candace Owens to debate Andrew Wilson? I think it's kind of obscene. I think, honestly, knowing how much people are struggling with money, myself included right now, the idea of Candace Owens getting $500,000 to debate, and look, I'm not, you know, people can use their money for how they want, you know, but the idea of her making $500,000 more on Charlie Kirk's death is just kind of obscene to me. Andrew Wilson too, in a way, but like, you know, whatever. It's allowed to make money the way he wants, but I mean, if she really cared about Charlie Kirk, shouldn't she deposit that into a trust for Charlie Kirk's kids, or offer it to a charity that Charlie Kirk supports? Yeah, I know. It's like, it's ridiculous. And like, Gil, you ready for your shield? I don't get that. But, oh, that's what, oh, yay. GGB. Welcome to the moderating club. Yeah, I don't know. I find it's like, and 300,000 was the first amount, and that wasn't enough for her. Yeah. I'm not as rich as most lawyers, let me tell you. So the idea of like getting a 300,000 payday to me is like, oh my God, you know, and she turns it down. It makes me just kind of sick, like how much money some people have that don't deserve it, honestly. That money should go to people that need it in society. So anyways, I don't know, that's my take on it. I don't like the idea. I mean, and then the other thing is like, you know that she's operating in bad faith, Andrew Wilson. There is not one single point you can make or single item of evidence you can throw out there that is going to change her mind, because I believe Candace Owens knows that Tyler Robinson did it. She's just doing it for the money and her sick kind of final FU to Charlie Kirk to get his murderer off. So it's not going to convince her. There might be a few dozen people watching that might move the needle, but I don't want Candace Owens to make more money. I don't want her to make more money. The silver lining is maybe that money will end up in Brian Hartpole or Brigitte Macron's bank account at the end of the day. That's the silver lining. Hopefully, actually, Brian Hartpole, because I would rather him than Brigitte Macron. But either way, I don't. $500,000 is just. It's too much for any debate. I mean, that's like almost makes me feel like I want to go socialist. I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Like, that's too much money.
The mints. He doesn't eat mints. He just sticks them in his pocket. Well, why is she passing out mints? If you know, so it seems like, was she sitting back there waiting for? I don't know, and I'm not accusing anyone. But was she sitting back there waiting for a guy to start running into position?
Am I on Top Chat? I don't know what that is, so the answer is no. But Eclectic Journalist, I check all of your all your DMs on X. So whatever that is, send me. Megan J, you want a shield? Can I make every single person a moderator? Because I only have 16 people in here, and now up to here, Waffle Bacon, just for fun, I'm gonna make you as a moderator too. I've never been a moderator, so I don't even know what you guys are able to do with that. Hi, Eclipse Truth.
Why was the sound bad all of a sudden when Hunter Kozak got up and started asking questions? The sound seemed fine while the first guy was asking questions. Now the guy that wants to get up and ask about transgender violence starts asking questions, and we get all this feedback in the system. Why did Philip Goldsberry Jr. turn his head away from Charlie Kirk before the shooting? Or before the bang, like half a second before. Once Brian Harpole steps behind Frank Turek, Frank Turek then turns towards Charlie Kirk and grabs his hat. Well, when he grabs his hat, Dan Flood looks at him and then looks to the left.
Gil, don't make any more. Sorry. Why? What happens? They can just make everybody. Sorry, I don't even know what it is. I've never been a moderator, so I don't know what powers that grants you. Hopefully, it doesn't give you power to like look through all my personal documents and stuff.
Left for some reason, and we don't know who he's looking at. And then he steps forward and touches his arm, and then you hear the crack. Like, all that may have been innocent. All may have been innocent.
Weird though.
But when you look at it and you put it in that video footage of the guy running on the roof, and you're watching it all take place, it almost looks like a choreographed dance. Now again, may turn out Tyler Robinson did it with a 30-06 from the Losi Center roof, and that was just the most unfortunate series of events that's ever happened. But it looks like a series of signals. I mean, even the guy asking the question turns and does something that starts the cascade. I mean, the whole thing is weird. And it might only be weird because something happened. It might be, maybe Maybe lots of people asking questions turn their head and look at somebody and play with their glasses. Maybe lots of people grab their hat. Maybe lots of people get mints and reposition themselves. Maybe lots of people step forward and do this right before, during a speaker. But when you watch it in context, knowing that there was a loud bang that killed Charlie, now it starts to look like this multi-faceted, multi-step checkoff. Like, yes, I'm clear. 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 Bang. And so I don't know. You asked what's weird in that moment. That is weird.
I'm gonna have to change my opinion about Baron because at first, for the longest time, I was saying Baron Coleman is just grifting. He's just doing this for money. He doesn't even buy it. But the stuff he's saying is so stupid that I'm starting to think that he's genuine. If you're starting to point to people moving their hat and touching their hand as like part of this elaborate chain of signals, I don't think that you're smart and you're just grifting because it's too stupid. Am I right here? What do you guys think? Because I feel like Baron Coleman was like, smart and he was just grifting. He would be pointing out more stuff that was smarter. But these things are stupid. And so I'm starting to think that maybe he's genuine. Maybe he's genuine. Oh my God, you guys. I'm so stupid. I've been doing this whole thing. Have you guys been hearing anything I've been saying? Because I've been doing this whole thing without my mic. 1 second. Hey, Megan, how much of what I've been saying has been too quiet for anyone to hear? Because I've been making a lot of genius points. Hi, Mackenzie. Everyone, Mackenzie is my number one fan, you guys. We love her the most. I love you all, but Mackenzie has a special place in my heart because she's super supportive. So where was I? Yeah, so I don't know what you guys heard, but what I was saying is I used to think that Baron Coleman was kind of smart and he's just doing this for the money. But listening to him now talking about these signals and his belief that all these people that doing stuff like that were part of a chain of signals makes me think that it's kind of too stupid to think that it's just a grift. So that was my point. Okay, thank you, Megan. Thank you. I am always open to constructive criticism, so I appreciate it.
The cameraman behind Charlie immediately after he goes down, turning and not running for his life, but turning to film where they're going to pull Charlie out. That's weird. That was strange. The fact, again, that they just yanked Charlie off the ground. He's got a neck wound, obviously an injury to his neck. There's no head and neck attention whatsoever, and they just drag him off with his neck literally dangling.
There was the kid on the phone, too. Was that Mikey McCoy?
Yeah, he denies being on the phone. He says he was plugging his ears, but there's also footage of him way off in the back, and he's still doing this. Is he still plugging his ears, or does he have a phone in one hand and he's plugging the other ear so he can hear better? Frank Turek saying he was on FaceTime with his son. His son's in his 30s. Why is he on FaceTime in the middle of a Wednesday watching Charlie Kirk take questions on transgender violence? What a weird thing to watch in the middle of the day.
He said the same thing about it being strange that Erica Kirk was watching this live stream with her mom. So again, I'm starting to think that Baron Coleman is actually being genuine. That he's just kind of stupid. I'm starting to think that because if he was smart, do I see top chat? I see. Oh yeah, I see top chat. Yeah, am I supposed to put live chat instead of top chat? Baron is a doof nugget. Oh God, you guys, I've come up with so many good. I haven't come up. I've come across so many good insults from you guys. I have not heard of doof nugget before. Change it to live chat. Yeah. What's the difference? Oh, I was missing some of your messages? Okay, sorry. Yeah, well, Waffle Bacon brings up a good point. Dumb people with credentials are very dangerous. I think stupidity can be more dangerous than actual malice, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, I would rather go in front of a judge that is just malicious than stupid. Because when they're stupid, it's almost self-indulgent. They refuse to acknowledge their stupidity. So I don't know, in certain ways, because a malicious person you could kind of counter, you can push back against, but a stupid person is really hard to beat. Anyways, by the way, tell me if I'm like talking too much or anything like that, and I don't mean, I'm not self-denigrating. I'm saying sometimes I'm watching something and like I just want to watch what they're commenting on, and they keep interrupting. I'm like, dude, can you shut up so I can listen? So if I start doing that, just tell me.
Video footage behind him doesn't look like he's on FaceTime. Looks like his screen's black. So what is he watching? And unless you say maybe you can't see it from video, he is on FaceTime earlier and you can see the FaceTime screen. So why can't we see the FaceTime screen now that you claim you're on FaceTime? Just way too many weird things that popped up every step of the way. And, the conclusion I draw is it's weird for a reason.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to speak to anybody, whether it's in the family, around the family, friends, people that would have had access to his body or whatever over the next 24 hours? Have you had a chance to speak to any of them about observations they had?
Charlie's body?
Of his body, of the people around him, when the family came in, what reactions there?
I don't talk about that.
Okay, so maybe, but you don't want to talk about that. Okay, no problem. And then the whole paving over the entire thing a couple days later, again, not a cop. Optics.
That's where we get the term cover up from.
Right.
I do have to admit that they shouldn't have done that. I mean, it doesn't indicate anything. I'm not suspicious about it, but they really just did they have to do that? I mean, at the time nobody knew that I was going to turn into this crazy conspiracy, but I think now we should have the presumption whenever there's a significant assassination or murder that it's automatically going to become rife with conspiracy. Doesn't matter how much evidence and everything is clear, it's just going to happen. And so everyone should be extra prudent to just not provide any fodder. And yeah, paving over the crime scene a few days later, stupid. It was a stupid move, but it doesn't really mean anything.
You literally covered it up.
You covered up the crime scene.
Like, is there any explanation for that is even reasonably decent?
I thought there might be, and then Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch did a public records request and got a bunch of text messages about the crime scene that took place the next morning.
Okay.
And the next morning they were already talking about digging it up, like inside of 24 hours. It seemed like I may be wrong on the exact timing, but it was the next day.
But can you guys keep track of how many different people and entities Baron Coleman is either implicitly or explicitly saying is part of this? We have all the people that you said were doing the signals. That's like 5-6 people. Lance Twiggs, Washington County Sheriff's, FBI, Israel. I think he admits that Tyler Robinson played some part in it. Now he's talking about UVU campus officials, whoever was in charge of the paving, right? I mean, to him, that's more plausible than just the alternative, which is, the official narrative, the Fed slop or whatever. It's really like, come on, ATF. Yeah, the ATF, the medical examiners, the surgeon, the Andrew Colvet, TPUSA, Erica Kirk. I mean, just like, do you know how many, and none of them have spilled the beans yet? And whoever's putting together this conspiracy, I mean, you usually, when you're putting together a conspiracy, wouldn't you want as few people of knowing about it as possible? You're going to start involving the UVU campus officials. I mean, this is like another reason I think Baron Coleman is actually genuine here. He's just a conspiracy-minded kind of dumb. I mean, he might be smart in certain ways. Like I don't know if he has a low IQ. Type dumb, the hospital, the funeral home, right? Tyler's lawyers, right? Sheriff's department. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just so convoluted. It's dumb.
They're already talking about digging it up. They didn't just dig it up. I mean, they dug up like 10 inches of soil and got rid of it. Is there a reason to do? And they did that before having a paving contractor who could come in and put down the pavers. But is there a reason to?
Megan J just spat some knowledge on me that I didn't know. Everyone give Megan J a round. I didn't know that it's literally mandated to how you have to clean bodily fluids to be released back for public use. That makes sense, right? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't. But I mean, you would think that they would cordon off the location where he was shot. Well, why? I mean, where he was shot was not really significant for the investigation per se, right? I mean, once you have that kind of chalked outline and photographed and everything else, you're right. Why keep it there? You want to make it, and you do have to clean it up for public use. This is a campus, kids have to get back to school. So thank you, Megan. That was smart. That was super smart. Yeah, because you're not going to just leave it out there with body brain matter out there and blood splatter, right? So you're going to clean it up, and then at that point you don't want it to become eternally associated with that. So they repave over it. Yeah, and especially if it's in the middle of the courtyard where this is a high traffic area. The military Trump, the guys in maroon shirts, the Mormon bees. Yeah, but I don't want to straw man Barron because he hasn't put out as much stupid stuff as Candace, and I'm gonna give Barron a little bit of credit because he said that he's willing to think that Tyler Robinson is guilty, and I haven't heard Candace even say that. So I'm gonna give him a little bit more credit on that front.
Do that? I don't know, man. I've never run a university where someone's been shot and killed on campus. It's he bled a lot. Mm-hmm. It's possible they thought it's a biologic hazard.
Oh, come on. You can block that off.
You could block it off, and they did block it off. It was blocked off for a long time. It rains, and you have sprinklers, and you have hoses, and there are you don't pave over every crime scene. Yeah. So lots of crime scenes take place in America every day.
Maybe they were worried he had HIV.
Maybe it could be. That could be it.
We're gonna pick it up. You know something about that.
Not a typical route of contraction, but but no, I mean, you're asking me for any reason. Maybe any reason could be they didn't want people out there walking around on Charlie's blood or where he died, and so you put down pavers out of respect, out of whatever. Yeah. But I don't see it.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. It looks like you're covering up a crime scene.
Yeah, Joseph covered the Koberger case a lot out in in Idaho.
By the way, what evidentiary value would that pavement have? Really, I mean, theoretically, you can imagine something. You can imagine some conspiracy where there might have some evidentiary value, but just normally speaking, this was a gunshot wound to the neck. This is it's not like a up close and personal stabbing incident where you're looking at blood spatter patterns and stuff. It's not this type of crime investigation. So I don't really know what paving over it would even hide. It's like, oh my God, if they didn't pave over it, we would have solved the crime, the conspiracy. Come on.
And he was even saying back then how pissed off he was. They raised that house a couple months later.
Yeah.
And they did it because it was in the middle of a bunch of college housing where a bunch of kids were still going to school. And it was obviously a very traumatic event. And it was a couple months later though. Yeah. He was pissed about that. And this is a couple days later.
Yeah.
They're doing this. Just block it off. It's a public assassination. That I've never been able to get around like what the fuck was.
I can't either. They did the same thing at Parkland High School. They did the same thing at Sandy Hook. It's interesting that the school in Littleton, Colorado, that kicked off the school shooting craze back in, was it 99? Harris and Klebold?
Columbine.
I couldn't think of the name of the school. It's interesting that school's still there.
Yeah.
They didn't knock it down.
Yeah. Wasn't it Parkland, the one where they kept stuff so preserved? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong one. They kept it so preserved though that the jury was able to visit it, and it was as if nothing had happened there.
Maybe, I don't know.
There was one of them where they did that correctly, and it's like, well,
yeah,
do that here?
I think it's interesting. I mean,
No, I've never heard of a case where a jury is actually allowed to visit a crime scene. Because jurors are not supposed to conduct their own scientific investigations. They're supposed to rely on what you hear in testimony and evidence. So, I've never heard of that, but maybe I don't know everything. It's possible that I don't know everything. I know it's hard to imagine, but it's possible.
They've other famous cases. They've redone the crime scenes. They did it at the Bundy address where allegedly O.J. Simpson killed Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown. They've redesigned that. They've redone that. But that was a decade later,
right?
Decade and a half later,
right?
Certainly after the trial.
That's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, at the scene, there was a lot of weird stuff that took place at the scene. I'm still weirded out by the fact that Mikey McCoy and Danny Phillip were both wearing backpacks on either side of Charlie Kirk when their car was like 10 feet away. Put your backpack in the car. It's blocked off. You got it blocked off with police.
Wow. You guys, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to reevaluate the whole case. Baron Coleman he cracked it. He cracked the case. There were 2 people wearing backpacks on both sides of Charlie Kirk. You guys, Tyler Robinson's innocent. There were 2 people wearing backpacks. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just, Tyler Robinson's innocent. You shouldn't be in jail. There were 2 people wearing backpacks on either side of of Charlie Kirk. And why would anybody ever wear a backpack? Who's ever heard of anyone wearing a backpack? At a university, no less? Have you ever heard of anyone wearing a backpack when they're going to a university? When they're on a university? I think by the end of this, Julian Dorey is going to be like, wait, this guy might be kind of crazy. How dare they wear a backpack? Yeah. I mean, well, look, Nikki, when you combine that with the fact that somebody went like this, that's pure Mossad. Everyone knows that when Mossad is operating, they always wear backpacks. JanSport. Mossad wears JanSport. Oh, God. He's always saying something different. By the way, Eclectic. They took jurors to a crime scene before? I didn't know that. That's interesting. I'm going to look into that because I did not know about that. Karen Reed, crime scene. Seems kind of like going against, because I'll tell you what, there's jury instruction that says in the jury deliberation room, they're not supposed to try to recreate the crime or conduct any of their own scientific analysis. They're supposed to rely on the evidence and the testimony presented. So that kind of surprises me, but Eclectic Journalist, I trust. She's seen it happen a lot, so I guess it's the second time in my life that I'm incorrect about something. They took her SUV there too. You mean they took the jury, or they took the SUV? Well, yeah, you could bring in evidence, and I guess if the evidence is something so big as to, yeah, okay, I could see that. Yeah, no, you're right. That's totally possible. Yeah, I didn't think about it. They could see it. Yeah, they could see how small the yard was and the curve in the road. That's interesting. Yeah, I guess I haven't handled any such high-profile cases where that has ever come up. and I don't follow most legal cases. So thank you for pointing out my ignorance, eclectic journalist. Just kidding. That makes sense because yeah, certain evidence you can't bring into the courtroom, and how do you get a jury to analyze that evidence? You'd have to have a field trip, right? I can imagine the jury on like a school bus riding out to the field trip. Um, that's interesting.
Tape and gates. Why are you walking around in 91-degree heat in long sleeves and a backpack?
But what would the suspiciousness of them having a backpack be?
I don't know. I'm just saying it's weird. Like, put your back.
You see how Julian Dorey's kind of starting to be like, what's this guy talking about? What's suspicious about a backpack? Maybe they have a one of you said maybe they have a sandwich in there. Maybe they, it's their man purse. You're not going to see men with purses usually, right? Sometimes I wish I had a purse because I have my wallet, I have this thing, I have my cell phone, I have my keys, I have my, maybe an extra battery charger, pens, and all these things. And I don't want to walk around with a fanny pack, And so at court, I bring a briefcase. But if I'm going to UVU, I'd probably put all that stuff into a backpack. It's more comfortable. But anyways, it's so stupid.
Back down. No one else was wearing backpacks on the team. They're the only two, and they were positioned basically equidistant with Charlie, making almost like a little triangle with Charlie. I don't know why that is.
How long from him walking up from behind when he got out of the car to walk up there and did the hats and then sat down? How long was it approximately from then until he got shot?
I heard 17 minutes and 28 seconds, but I could be wrong. Maybe it was a minute or two longer. I don't know why that number's coming to my head.
Yeah.
It was quick.
Yeah. I'm a backpack guy. Like I take it places. I could see me like accidentally like leaving it on and just chilling there.
But you don't accidentally leave it. You showed up in a car. You grabbed it out of the car and put it on your back.
Right. Because I got to a new place. I'm not as aware of my surroundings. I take the backpack out of the car. I don't know where the car's going while I'm here. Maybe it's sitting here. Maybe it's
you
not.
know what's going. It's sitting right there, 10 feet away.
Yeah, but I would probably take it. I would probably take my backpack. That one I'm going to push back.
I'll allow it.
Yeah, I'd probably take my backpack. That's just me.
Yeah. But I mean, I look at things like that and I think it's weird.
He looks at things like that and thinks it's weird. Yeah, you look at everything and think it's weird because you don't know what you're talking about. You can't like understand that maybe some people use a backpack to carry their stuff. Maybe some people move their hat because they're sweating. Maybe some people go like this because they have a little itch. Everything's suspicious to you. That's the problem, Baron. Eclectic journalist. I'm gonna ask ChatGPT. Do juries ever go on field trips? I mean, it's not that I don't believe you. I believe you. I'm just curious what the rules are because it's never come up in any cases that I've watched or participated in. But I believe you. I'm not second guessing you. I'm just curious what the So yes, juries sometimes do what is essentially a controlled field trip, usually called a jury view, site view, or view of the scene. The basic rule is that the judge may permit the jury to visit a location when seeing it would materially help them understand the evidence. It is not supposed to become an independent investigation by the jurors. That's what I was thinking. It's like they're not that's where my confusion was because I remember in my cases the judge explicitly instructed jurors not to go visit any of the sites involved in the case on their own because they're not supposed to conduct their own investigations. But that's different than going on a school bus and getting their juice boxes and their counselors and everything to go visit a site. And has to be it's kind of, and again, it's only if like photographs, diagrams, videos would not convey the same information. And it also couldn't have any changes in the location. So that's interesting. They did it in the Murdoch case too. Interesting. You guys know more about the law than I do. But as I always preface, my like specialty expertise is I tutor the LSAT, so I'm consider myself a very logical, analytical person. I'm really good at pointing out flaws in arguments, recognizing assumptions, just logical reasoning. But when it comes to memorizing the law off the top of my head, that's really not my forte, unfortunately. So, just so you guys understand.
I think it's weird that Nate Walker, in the immediate aftermath, was picked up on video upstairs. I mean, this is the guy who was carrying Charlie's binders, and he's helping. I don't even know why he's there. He's only been working there a month or so, I think. But he shows up and he's helping Charlie with his binders, and he has a little passenger bag with him. And then a minute or so after the event, everything's just chaotic, and Adam Bartholomew from Life is Driving YouTube channel is live streaming, and he's flipping his camera around. And Nate Walker's up on the roof. Like, why is Nate Walker on the roof? What's he doing up there? Where was he? Was he taking a leak? Maybe it was innocent, but I think this is where silence really works against TPUSA. Because in a situation like that, the first time somebody asked a question about why was Baron Coleman doing this, I would say, well, Baron Coleman was doing this because of
that's right.
I drank 4 cups of coffee on the way in, and I'd go to the bathroom.
Nothing to hide.
The event had started. I'd already done my job. Yep. I'm wandering around campus.
Yep.
What are you talking about? But the silence.
But Baron Coleman said yesterday that if you give TPUSA one piece of advice, it's that to say I don't know, and to follow a very regimented script on how to answer each question. So he's saying that they should be coming out more to explain different trivial details, in my opinion. But now he's saying that. But yesterday he was saying they should be more tight-lipped and stick to the script, because every time they veer off slightly off, that makes it look more suspicious. So he can't keep his own advice straight.
When these issues are raised, they pick and choose which ones they're going to address. And when they choose to address it, they do it in such a condescending, nasty, mean way that it's like a cornered dog. Like stop attacking us. These are legitimate questions. It's a murder. A lot of people. The reason you have a job, the reason all these people at TPUSA are employed, there's 700 plus employees. The reason there's 4 different TPUSA organizations. The reason there's a podcast. The reason you guys are all at that event that day is because a lot of people really love Charlie Kirk. Really deeply loved him. They were willing to travel a long way to go see him. They turned out at college campuses. They turned out in arenas. They sold out places. They bought his books. They made him a multiple-time best-selling author. These questions are coming out of love. Answer the freaking questions. Yeah. Answer the questions. These people want to know why Charlie's dead. And you sitting back and acting high and mighty and being condescending and being acting like you're above everybody else, and you don't have to answer anything. And anyone asking questions evil or corrupt or demonic or
no. See, the problem, Baron, isn't the asking questions. The problem is pretty much Candace Owens. I would say if it wasn't for Candace Owens, then all of the healthy skepticism would be okay. We could address it in good faith. I'd say it's because of Candace Owens. Who here agrees with me? Because Candace Owens has turned the whole skepticism into a spectacle, and has made it about attacking Erica Kirk and TPUSA, and just a sick, demented shit show. Yeah, it's the assumptions and the accusations also. Yeah, you're right. It's not like these questions aren't like, phrased. Oftentimes they're not phrased in like, hey, I'm just kind of curious, why did this happen? It's phrased in like, oh, isn't it weird that you did this? You part of the conspiracy to kill somebody? And that's going to turn people defensive. But I'd say it's pretty much because of Candace Owens that there is kind of like a reluctance to address healthy skepticism. And yeah, Candace Owens, when you see her, she's so evil. She is so evil. Can we just take a break from this for a second to talk about how evil Candace Owens is? The way she looks at Erica Kirk and laughs with her smirk, and she's just yeah, a lot of it is retarded, Megan, but like the problem is we don't want to lump everybody together. There are just people that just are not following the case and are just not aware of the evidence. Not everybody is as interested in it as we are. So there's people that just are not aware. They get little tiny snippets. Then they see Candace Owens and they get little snippets from her. And so like they're legitimately unaware. So that's a group of people. And those might be the people that are open to being persuaded. But then, yeah, then you have a much larger, probably, I don't know exactly, but seemingly online, much larger people that are adamantly refusing to accept any evidence and propagating really retarded theories. Baron Coleman is, saying a lot of stupid shit. Occasionally he'll have like a decent, I haven't heard any good points, but he'll have a decent point throw in the mix. Why did they pave over it so quickly? I mean, Megan, you answered that pretty well. But like, I also thought like probably should be a little bit more prudent, just not to give fodder. But it's really kind of a side trivial point. But anyways, he occasionally has like a decent point, not a good one. I haven't heard any good points, but he has had some that are just kind of decent. But a lot more retarded shit than that. But yeah, but the problem is that the people that are just getting snippets here and there and not really following it closely, they're also getting the snippets just as much or maybe even more from Candace Owens. That is bullshit. And so that's the problem. But I really think that Candace Owens is the problem here. I don't know of anybody else. I mean, Baron Coleman is probably the number 2 person in this conspiracy nonsense. I don't know how it seems like Baron Coleman was not just riding on Candace's coattails. But like the other ones about like Diligent Denizen, for example, this other guy, Project Constitution, these people seem to be just riding on Candace's coattails. Mitch Snow. So I think that if it was just not for Candace, then we would be able to address, and TPUSA would be able to address the healthy skepticism in good faith much better. But it's because of Candace that really this shit is going on.
Or has bad motives. That reflects so poorly on those people. That's not the posture to take when someone that was truly loved by a lot of people, by millions of people, is tragically died, and it looks weird. Answer the questions.
I completely agree. It is a case study in PR disaster that will probably make an actual case study at some of these colleges and when they study in business school in the future, and it should. But how do you think the prosecution is going to go about proving their case at trial?
I don't think they can.
You don't think they can?
I don't think you can prove a case unless they're sitting back on evidence unless they gave all of their weakest evidence at the probable cause hearing. I don't think they can. You're going to have a hard time convincing people that figure running on the roof had a 30-06 in his hand. Keep in mind at trial, you're not going to be able to get away with this clipping up videos and not showing us everything. At the probable cause hearing, they were sort of the architects of the evidence. At the criminal trial, the defense gets to introduce evidence.
That's right.
And so you can't show us the purported Tyler Robinson walk to the
preliminary hearing. Defense gets to introduce evidence too if they want.
Top of the stairs and then jump the camera forward a minute 4 seconds. What was he doing for that minute 4 seconds? Did he talk to someone? Did he text someone? Was he on the phone? Did he raise his hands and signal to somebody? Did he flash a flag? Like, what was he doing? You're not going to be able to get away with this. Oh, we think he ran into the woods. Well, why? Why do you think he ran into the woods? Where's the rest of the camera footage that shows that he even ran towards the woods? Did he cross the street? Did he walk down this way? When do you next see him? Do you ever see him again? You told us he changed clothes in the woods. Why do you think he changed clothes in the woods? What evidence do you have for that? You're not going to be.
He text messaged that. The text messages. He text messaged that he changed clothes.
Able to get away with all this stuff at an actual trial.
Yeah, I disagree with Baron Coleman. I think that this is going to be a very, very good case for the prosecution, and I still think that it's going to be a plea deal for life without parole. But good. Thanks, Eclipsed. Can you hear? I think it's going to be a plea deal for life without possibility of parole. I think that's what it's going to be. Could be wrong. It's just my guess. But I totally disagree with Baron Coleman that this is a bad case for the prosecution. If I'm a prosecutor, this case is as good of a case as you can hope for.
You're not going to be able to get away with, oh, here's a guy in a maroon shirt. We think it's Tyler because he drove in a Challenger. Well, that's not the only Challenger that's ever been sold. That's not the only red shirt that's ever been sold. Give us more. Give us way more than that. Oh, he went and ate Chick-fil-A, but we're not going to show you any footage of him eating Chick-fil-A. We're not going to show you a receipt that proves he was back on campus. Just trust me, bro. He was there. No, not going to be able to pull that off either.
Yeah, they didn't show that at the preliminary hearing. They don't have to show that at the preliminary hearing. I mean, most preliminary hearings are like literally, is the person that is sitting at defense counsel or defendant's table, is that the person who's on the arrest warrant? Because we already issued the arrest warrant for probable cause. So let's just rehash that and make sure that that's the right person, and that's it. So they went way above and beyond. Nick Brooks is live playing video games.
There's so much of this that they're only able to get away with right now because the defense was limited on their ability to push back on it. They couldn't really turn it into a trial because that's not the standard at the probable cause hearing. The prosecution is the architect at the probable cause hearing, and so it'll be really interesting to see if the text messages can hold up under scrutiny. It'll be interesting to see how Lance Twiggs actually does on the stand. He's obviously expected to be horrific, or he would have been there. So we can anticipate his testimony will be terrible. It'll be interesting to see if the defense calls Miss Noble, the lady who saw the bald man with the 3 passengers. I would call her.
Yeah.
If assuming she'll talk to me ahead of time and tell me why she thinks that. And if not, I mean, you can't get her statement in. You're gonna have to call her as a witness. But assuming she'll stick to that statement, and if not, impeach her with a statement. Okay, you're saying you didn't see a bald man. Do you remember making a statement to the police? I mean, you might not be able to introduce it as evidence, but you can impeach her with it. There's a lot that the prosecution is not going to be able to overcome. I think, for example, they lost him on camera at the most critical juncture. They admit they lost him. Which
juncture was that?
Well, you said that you thought you saw Tyler Robinson in the hallway walking up the stairs. And then they say he disappears from camera. And all of a sudden we have what looked like a trained assassin appear on the roof and military crawl into position, holding a non-existent 30-06 and lay down and take a non-existent shot. How do we even know that's the same guy? Let's say we can say that's Tyler Robinson in the stairwell. It's not illegal to be in the stairwell. There's nothing illegal about being in the stairwell on a public college campus. He can walk around any stairwell he wants. Nothing illegal about eating Chick-fil-A. Nothing illegal about driving into parking lots. Nothing illegal about walking around campus. So putting him on campus is really irrelevant. What the question is, who the hell was out on the roof? And if you lost Tyler Robinson from camera, and you can't definitively identify the guy on the roof, and you can't definitively identify what's in his hand, and you can't definitively identify he took a shot, you're going to have trouble proving your case. One more piece of evidence, and I assume the defense would track this person down. I think I could if I had a half a mind to do it. There was somebody who put on Instagram a video from directly below the Losi Center, like seconds after the alleged shot. Seconds after. The crowd is still fleeing and running crazy.
I've seen this video. Yeah.
And they said the shot came from down there. If there's one person in that entire facility who would be able to put a shot on the roof, it's the person standing directly below the roof.
Right.
And they said the shot came from down there. There's a lot of problems with this case. And
I mean, yeah, maybe you should put that person on the stand if you're a defense lawyer, but it doesn't. People are not experts in acoustics where shots came from. There's just some random person in the crowd. Here's a shot. Probably thinks that it's much closer. There's a whole lot of acoustic echoing and stuff going on. You can't really. I mean it's a very weak point to bring up in the defense. I think I don't know what he's talking about. I think Tyler Robinson has a good defense team based on what I saw at the prelim. They know what they're doing. They're trying their best, but it's an uphill battle.
Puts me in grave fear for Tyler Robinson's life. Because if all the hopes and dreams of putting this case to bed rest on us having to believe Tyler Robinson did it, you can't take this case to trial. Right. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. And the more they come and tell you that it's definitive and it's bulletproof and, well, pardon expression, that it's open and shut, the more they howl about that, the more I believe that they don't believe it either. They agree with me that this case is lousy and they feel like they have to go out and put the sell job on it in order to convince people it's not. I don't think people buy it.
We haven't even seen the cell phone site tower location data. That's going to really ping Tyler Robinson all around, not just at the time of the murder, but after the murder, throughout the whole day, putting him in connection where each of his text messages were sent from, looking around where the rifle is, putting him where the ring camera footage is, putting him on the campus also, putting him at the Quick Quack car wash, which we already have the surveillance footage. This case is very strong. Sam Styles, I don't know if he's just straight up lying. He seems like he just doesn't know he seems like he's genuinely kind of dumb and conspiratorially minded. Metadata from the phone, right? That's just going to corroborate everything else. There's probably going to be searches too. We know of at least 2 Google route searches that were extracted from his phone, both of which, put him in Orem, Utah. And, the main point I keep bringing up, and I know I said this many times, is people would want an alibi here. People want an alibi. And if you're going to say that he was on campus, but he didn't take the shot, the jury's going to want to know why he was on campus. And they're not going to put Tyler Robinson on the stand to testify. That's, again, I'm like as close to certain as possible from that. And so that's not going to sit well with the jury. And if you're going to admit that he's on campus, as Barron is saying, okay, fine, you're allowed to be on campus and you're allowed to go to Chick-fil-A and stuff, then you're going to have to explain why he is walking with a limp with obviously something down his pants, because that's the same person. That's him. So they keep, he pokes holes in each individual item of evidence. He finds some flaw, which if that was the only item, then that might be a decent defense. If it was only the surveillance footage, of him walking with a limp, and nothing else, then maybe you can poke some holes in it. But that's not what it is. It's lots of surveillance footage. It's also the metadata, the Google site or the cell phone site tower, the text messages, the DNA, the rifle, the Dremel tool, the Discord chat messages, the Ring camera, the testimony by Lance Twiggs. We'll see if there's going to be testimony by the parents. So it's ridiculous. In conclusion, I'm gonna shut down. We still have 7 more minutes, so let's finish it. But in conclusion, I haven't heard really anything of substance. I'm trying to think of anything that he said. I mean, the backpacks, that was the most compelling. Why would 2 people wear backpacks? If they're not, why would anybody that's not conspiring to commit murder be wearing a backpack? And what his own parents said. Yeah. I mean, now to put on my defense lawyer cap here, the preliminary hearing is really not that fair to the defense. So they're going to have their opportunity. They're going to have their day in court at trial. We shouldn't be convicting somebody just based on what happened at the prelim, because it isn't fair for the defense. They weren't able to cross-examine Lance. So, he'll have his day in court, but I'm just saying, based on the evidence that we've seen, this is a very tough case for the defense. And Julian is gullible for sure. And Baron Coleman brought nothing to bear. The only thing that I'm going to defer on is the ballistics, and I'm just going to say I don't know enough about ballistics. I'm going to defer to the experts. But I think that it's been pretty roundly shown that it's possible. I only wear backpacks when committing conspiracy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I never thought about it, but like whenever I'm driving past the local high school, there's so many murderers that are conspiring that are walking to school. Why else would they be wearing backpacks?
I don't think a jury will buy it.
You really strike me as a guy who wants the truth here, just like you said. And like, I've been extremely impressed, obviously, like watching some of your streams, catching up on that, because you've been doing that for a long time, talking with you today and getting to see it face to face, like how you lay it out, talk with you on the phone and going through it. Like, you're an affable guy, you're extremely smart, you dig into all these things, and you're asking questions that, to subtweet what you said a few minutes ago, are questions that people of all backgrounds deserve to know about this, because it was such a public, horrific assassination. But then particularly the people who were fans of this guy deserve to get answers to these things, to get closure, if you can even get that on a case like this. But, I think it's a mess. I think what you're laying out makes a really good case that there's a strong possibility Tyler Robinson is a patsy and like he didn't actually do this. Do you ever worry about even if there were a bigger story there behind him doing it, if in fact he did do it, that like you and some other prominent people, whether it be Candace Owens or the handful of people who are really going at this, you guys would be responsible for the actual killer of Charlie Kirk going free by poking so many holes in this case?
No, that doesn't cross my mind at all. The foundation of the American criminal justice system is that it's better that guilty people go free than innocent people go to prison. It should be an extremely high bar for the prosecution to be able to put somebody in prison, to deprive them of liberty or their life.
I agree.
And if they can't build a better case, then he needs to go free. If this is the only case they have, if this is the best they've got, then you can't convict him, because it puts everyone else at jeopardy.
Put the system to the test.
Yeah, it puts everyone at jeopardy. I've represented some really horrific people.
And on the criminal side, wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, well, I won't say horrific people. I've represented some people accused of some really horrific crimes. I didn't have any moral issue whatsoever with representing them, because it's better to keep the system honest. Mm-hmm. You know, if Julian Dorey doesn't want to be falsely accused of a crime, we need a robust criminal justice system that can ensure the only way Julian Dorey goes to prison is if he committed a crime. And if you committed a crime and you get away with it, that's the cost of keeping the system to a very high standard. I don't think he did it. I'm open to the fact that he did it. But if they can't convict him, that's their problem, not mine.
Yeah, my friend Brian McMonagle was on the show back in episode 115. He's a really prominent defense attorney. He's the guy that got Bill Cosby off, and then quit, and then Bill Cosby got convicted.
That's a poor choice of words.
Yeah, that's a very poor choice of words. You know what? I don't think he was Bill Cosby's type.
I don't think he's the only one that got Bill Cosby off.
But he I walked right into that one. Pause. But he said, you can run the tape on that episode. He describes it the same exact way, and I believe him on how he looks at it from like a moral standpoint and a constitutional standpoint, and that's what this country's built on. So I think that's a great answer. But last thing before we get out of here, and then we'll be doing another podcast. So stay tuned for that one. That's gonna be really good. But you do have security, and I guess I understand that as well. But are you fearful? I guess of your life and the work you're doing being.
Okay. So I'll agree with him. I do want the prosecution to have to meet a high burden. And I agree that the idea of an innocent person going to jail for a crime they did not commit is more unconscionable than the idea of a guilty person getting away with a crime that they did commit. And that is what our system is based on. So I agree with him on that. I also agree that, if Tyler Robinson gets off, I'm not going to blame Baron Coleman or Candace Owens for that matter. I will say that what she's doing is really that might be kind of inconsistent with what I said before, which is that she is tainting a potential jury pool. I think what I said before is that because of the way that she's tainting the jury pool, she's making it much more likely that the prosecution is going to feel compelled to offer a plea deal than to go for the gusto, because they know how much conspiratorial nonsense is out there. But I also don't think that it's kind of like when you blame somebody for inciting violence. I think that should be reserved for the person that commits the violence. Everyone has a right to free speech, and that's important. It's important that if we just support people's right to free speech when it's something that we agree with, then we're not really fighting for free speech. And so we should be consistent. I hate Candace Owens. I know that's a strong word, but I really do. I'm just going to be honest. I really hate her. But I think she should have the right to speak these disgusting things. I think Baron Coleman should. And I'm not going to blame them if Tyler Robinson is found innocent. I'm blaming them for their sick words, particularly Candace. Honestly, Gary said that he thinks Baron's more dangerous than Candace. I don't know. I haven't been following Baron as much as Gary has, but based on this, I dislike Candace more. What made me start not liking her? Well, she started going after the Jews pretty horrifically. And a lot of people that are coming out like against Candace Owens and in favor of Erica Kirk, probably a lot of us are Jewish because she's also gone after us, and that that prompts us to action. But even if she wasn't coming after Jews, I would still be disgusted by the way that she's behaving toward Erica Kirk. Um, it's just kind of I mean, there is this overlap between these people that go after Erica Kirk and TPUSA and all this conspiratorial nonsense, and also hate Jews. There's like it's almost a perfect circle, but there's maybe a few people that are outside of the circle, but it's almost there. So yeah, I mean that's really what got me against Candace Owens. It's same thing with Tucker. Honestly, Tucker is the biggest Jew hater I think in the world right now, or the most dangerous. I don't know about like the biggest, but that really, yeah. But even if she wasn't a Jew hater, I would still be just disgusted and go after her just the same way for what she's doing to Erica Kirk. But that is what initially, because I started hating Candace before Charlie Kirk assassination. So yeah, yeah, and Jew hatred is a kind of a I don't want to I don't want to dismiss other types of hatred, but it is kind of like a brain rot. Charlie Kirk talked about it. It's like it starts consuming you, um, and you obsess about it. It's like people that hate other groups of people usually don't wake up and start searching about if they hate black people. I mean, I don't know, but like usually it's like a prejudice that they carry with them, but they don't go out of their way like an obsessive like focus, like, oh my god, black people control the world, black people are doing this, black people are doing, you know, that's what you see with Jew hate. It's like it becomes their whole world. I mean, look at Tucker Carlson. Does he ever talk about anything other than Israel and Jews? Is there like any other topic that he discusses? So it does take over minds in a certain way. And Candace Gerwels Owens, yeah, she's sick in the head. She's everything is the Jew's fault. Everything is not Megan. Yeah, yeah. Um, but that's just the first reason I started hating her. But again, that's not the only reason. I don't want to make it sound like it's only because she's going after me and my family that's it. I hate her for the way that she's going after Erica Kirk and TPUSA and just her sickness. I mean, um, look at her videos, like where she's talking about Erica Kirk and she has this smile, like like she's tormenting. I hate them. Yeah, and they hate Christian Zionists too. In fact, I said this before. If you don't hate Jews, if you're non-Jewish and you just don't hate Jews, these people that hate Jews hate you just as much. Especially if you actually like support Jews. But even if you're just like kind of neutral, you're just like I don't hate Jews, I just don't, it's not my thing. They hate you and it's like you're in the category with us, the Jews. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like that's kind of seems like a binary. Half the people, at least online, seem to like hate Jews, and then the other half are like Jews and people that don't hate Jews, and the people that hate Jews hate everybody on this side. That's why they're going after Gary Melton. You notice that it's like Tucker Carlson and Elizabeth Lane are going after Gary Melton, and I think that the only reason is that Gary Melton doesn't hate Jews, so they put him in the bad category. He's an American patriot. He's a truth seeker, and he hasn't said anything bad or wrong about America or anything. But he also just happens not to hate Jews, and so they hate him like passionately. Same thing with Trump. I know a lot of people have a lot of problems. My mom has major Trump derangement syndrome. I don't know why. I've been trying to. She's always had it, but That's a different issue. There's a lot of people that have Trump derangement, but Trump doesn't hate Jews, and that pisses off these Jew haters. That's why they hate Trump. They want him to hate Jews, and he just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, and then on top of it, Gary is also. But that's what I said when Gary is. He's a truth seeker. He speaks truth. And yeah, it's I did a video about this was a while back before I really got into this topic. I made a video about anti-Semitism that I encourage. It's kind of just talking about like how it's much more of a passion than kind of like a an argument, that like these people that hate Jews, they're not interested in the truth. They just have this passion about hate. They just have this hatred, and then they'll point to something that a Jewish person did that was bad, or some statistic to justify it. But even if that statistic turns out to be false, they still have the same hatred. So it's an ad hoc, and then eventually they'll just come to admit that, like, okay, it's not based on anything. I just have this hatred. And so truth is not what's important to people like that. And if you're like Gary, where you follow where the truth goes, if the truth came out that Israel was behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, then Gary would show that, and he would not hide the ball. But that's just not where the evidence is showing, and so he's not going that direction, because that's just not where it's going. And they hate him for that. They want him to get to that conclusion and blame Israel, even if it's not where the evidence is supported. Yeah, I mean, I try not to get a huge like into the spiritual aspect of it and the religious aspect. I personally am not too religious, but yeah, there does seem to be something like kind of spiritual in the hatred. Like it does seem like somewhat demonic, but I'm against all types of hatred. So I'm not trying to elevate Jew hatred as like any worse than anti-black hatred or anything like that. I think it's all bad. But there does seem to be something unique about Jew hatred that really kind of like possesses people. Again, like look at Tucker Carlson. Like, even if he thought that what Israel's done so bad, why is it only Israel that he cares about, when his like love for Putin and Russia has, Russia has killed way more people in the Ukraine war, like 10, 20 times more people than Israel killed in Gaza, but he hasn't mentioned it once. He doesn't talk about that like once. And Israel, so it does take over people's brain once they fall into that rabbit hole. Any other questions? By the way, so I mean, what I wanted to say is there was really nothing informative here from Baron. I want to watch the other one. Hatred is faking. Tucker, I've never seen anyone have this similar type of laugh as Tucker. Tucker is such a weird. He's kind of a nut, and I actually was kind of scared of him. I'm like, this guy's like scary. He's like Hitler, like Hail Tucker, I mean Führer. He scares me somewhat, but then I saw his 10-point plan, and I'm just like, this guy's he's another joke. I wish it was easy to dismiss them, but they have such big followings that I kind of waver back and forth. It's like, should I just be dismissive of these people as being stupid, and just kind of mock them and like ignore them, or are they actually dangerous because they have such huge followings? And like the Nazis also were kind of a fringe group at first. Nobody probably took Hitler too seriously at first, and then it's a gradual thing. So what are your thoughts? What's everyone's thoughts? Are they dangerous, or are they just clowns that we can ignore? You guys, I'm gonna turn on my fan just for a few minutes. I know it's distracting, but Tucker and Creepers Void. Dangerous clowns with too many followers. Yeah, I can't get over Tucker's creepy laugh. Um, yeah, Tucker's laugh. The thing about Tucker though is, so I during the COVID pandemic, I was watching Tucker because I liked what he had to say about COVID. I thought that was a time when our country was, I mean, the whole world was just going crazy. The COVID time, and so Tucker had some good monologues. It was really good, and then he had some interesting stuff to say about other stuff. Like he questioned the whole January 6th narrative, which I agree with. The impeachment of Trump, both impeachments were, I thought, clown shows, and so I was with him. But all these people that are, like, what happened to Tucker? What happened to Tucker? I think he was always like this. He just had to moderate himself more when he was on Fox. But I think that he was probably always a Jew hater. He just couldn't really be outright with it on Fox. Like a lot. Yeah, I know. He uses these phrases like Tucker. What did he say? Charlie Kirk wasn't assassinated for his views on transgenderism. Obviously. Why is it obvious? Actually, it's obvious that he was. Yeah, he's so fucking. He's but I think he's more dangerous than Candace though, because I think Candace is just too ridiculous. Eclectic journalist, you know who has some good commentary? Check out, what's her name? Elika Laban. I'm gonna type it in the chat. I don't think she's Jewish. She's an Iranian. And she has some good videos about anti-Semitism. She actually just put it up, I think, over the past few weeks. Elika Laban. Don't leave my channel to watch it, but put it on your watch list. Van Cruz. That's good, Van Cruz. That's good. Oh, you know what, Van Cruz, you should totally patent that. That's genius stuff here. I might steal that idea because that's really clever. Goldie's really good, but specifically on this topic of anti-Semitism, check out Elika Laban. She has like 2 videos about it, about scapegoat theory and some the origins of left-wing anti-Semitism. Check it out. Yeah, Van Cruz, what you suggested was like a Tucker mask with a Tucker laugh for Halloween. I really think that would I mean, a doll would be pretty good, but a Tucker mask with that laugh, I really think that that would sell. I want to make that actually. Dinesh D'Souza, Eric Metaxas, yeah, I'm really good. But no, watch Elika Laban. She does like a very good one. I mean, yeah, I'm fans of those two guys, but check out Elika Laban. Have I watched? Yeah, I saw the Bonhoeffer movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. Good movie. Yeah, eclectic. What you're talking about, literally exactly what Elika Laban does. It's very good. Yeah, no, Van Cruz. Honestly, I'm not even kidding. If you could somehow get a patent for that, or like I mean, I guess it would be a patent. No, it'd be more of a copyright. Um, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if, but the idea is great. Whether or not you could actually turn it into money, I don't know. But the idea is great because I would totally, I would totally get that because he has such a distinct evil laugh. If you're going to a costume party, you would totally get a ton of compliments. And I'm going to do that. I'm literally going to do that. I'm going to get a Tucker mask, and I'm gonna have a recording of his laugh. That is so good. Tucker would sue him for. I don't care though. You know, that would probably just be increase my my noticeability. Yeah, Vance, you have a 3D printer? Do it, but I don't think it would. You have to have the best laugh. Yeah, I mean, you have to have a good laugh for him that you could like press a button and or that's really good. You'd be scaring children left and right with that. Yeah, you'd be scaring me with that. Honestly, Tucker Carlson scares me. I feel like if he if I saw him, like I just I get that Nazi vibe from him. Like I'm just kind of scares me. I'm a little scared of Nazis. I'm not gonna lie. The freaking Tate series. Um, yeah, I like Ami Kozak. I like him. I like him, but I don't think he does the laugh the right way. I don't think he does the laugh. There's some better impressions of his laugh. You think his impression is spot on? I think I'm not talking shit about me. I think he does a good job. He does a good job of pointing out like the type of topics that Tucker goes on about. But I don't think he has the laugh right because the laugh is very so insane. Oh, thank you, Rana. Thank you. Yeah, I'm waiting for any second she's going to be knocking on the door and tell me that she's gave me more than enough time. You think? No, he does do a good Tucker. I'm not denigrating it. He does a great Tucker. It's just that laugh is it's more insane when Tucker does it. Like it's it's more insane. Usually when people do impressions, they exaggerate it, but I feel like Tucker's actual laugh is much more exaggerated than Ami's impression. Ace from American. Yeah, and Vance, I just started watching that. I just subscribed to that guy. Let me just make sure that I don't want to keep you guys from anybody else. It seems like I'm still the only live. Ben Shapiro's impression of Tucker's laugh. Yeah, Ben Shapiro does it pretty good. um, exactly, Eclipse Truth. It's the timing. It's like a tick. It's like it just doesn't happen at a time that you would think it'll have to happen. Oh, Nikki, this is fun for me. This is like my new break from work and family is I'm doing a live. I used to golf here and there, not that much. I'm no golfer, but I want to hear a woman doing. Um, but it's way too hot these days, and I can't really get any time away. So this is the highlight of my day, and I appreciate it. It's all because you guys are here to make it worthwhile. So I appreciate all of it. It's random and out of. Yeah, and it's like super loud and unsettling. So it's and I don't judge people just because they laugh weird. Some people have weird laughs, but with Tucker, he's so crazy in every way that it really is a good reflection of how crazy he is. Of course, anytime. Yeah, golf takes a lot of time. I just go to a small 9 hole. Otherwise, it will take me all day. I startled or not. I mean, obviously. I mean, obviously, Charlie Kirk wasn't killed for his views on transgender. I mean, obviously. Like, why is it obvious, Tucker? What, like, do you know something we don't know? He was killed because of his evolving views on Israel. Okay, do you have any evidence of that? One text message where he expresses frustration with Jewish donors, and that's why he's killed. Yeah, yeah. And did you guys watch his 10-point plan thing? I don't watch him, but I was watching a little bit on Ryan Morrow, and so he was doing a 10-point plan, Tucker. And dude, I was getting big Nazi, like literal Nazi vibes from this guy, from Tucker, like talking about like blood and soil, um, and what else is like, if we wanted to, we could clean up the streets in one day we could get rid of all crime. It's like, yeah, I guess if you're gonna send out like stormtroopers to kill everybody that is homeless and um has mental illness and drug problems and stuff, if you want to be a really cruel nation that just kills everybody that is, struggling, then yeah, you could get rid of a lot of, problems. But you also lose a little bit of your humanity also. And I feel like uh yeah, I feel like it's a very Nazi thing. It's like it's like beautify. We're gonna beautify everything. We're gonna build these big grand structures and I was like waiting for him to say, and we're gonna get rid of the Jews, you know, guy, because he just seems like a very cruel person. Um, and it's almost I after watching it, I'm like, you know what? It's because of people like Tucker that so many Jews are still Democrats because they're afraid of what Tucker actually is what a lot of Jews are afraid Trump is, but they're wrong because Trump is like the best friend Jews ever had in the White House. Um, I'm a big Trump guy. Not 100%. I'm not one of these people that worships everything he does, but I like him, and I liked him even I voted for him from the get go. So it's not just because he turned out to be super super pro Israel. I liked him anyways, but on top of it, he turned out to be very pro Israel, pro Jewish, and yet Jews are still disproportionately Democrat, and I don't get it, but I think it's because they're projecting onto Trump what like people like Tucker actually are. So, um, my mom has TDS, and I keep trying to convince her, like, Mom, Trump is a little bit obnoxious, and Trump has his character flaws. Don't get me wrong, but he's not a fascist or a Nazi. That's you want to know what fascist Nazi looks like? Wait until Tucker actually like Tucker's party starts running with MTG and stuff, and they're yeah, Nikki, you bring up a good point. Tucker makes it sound like he's this man of the people type person. Dude, Tucker wouldn't be known right now if it wasn't for Fox News. He wrote. That's how he's known right now. And before Fox News, he was on what, CNN or CBS, and then before that, C-SPAN or something. So he completely played all of the corporate media outlets. He was a nepo baby from the get-go, and now he's trying to play it like, oh, he's like this populist, man of the people. Like, dude, yeah, it's easy to say that now that you're like a multi tens, if not 100 millionaire, um, after using all the corporate media and everything like that. And now you're doing your nicotine pouches, and you have all this investments from unknown sources and all this stuff. Yeah, you're a joke. You're a joke. You heard Fox News and all of them are liberals faking it because that's where the money is. I don't know. Maybe some of them. I don't know if I believe that, Van Cruz. Yeah, Tucker hates America. He really does. He hates America. He has a big problem with Christianity. I think he plays it like he doesn't, but he said he hates Christian Zionists um more than anybody. It's like, why? What's wrong with Christian Zionism? I mean, you could disagree with them, but my whole thing when it comes to Israel is I know that I have a bias because I have family there. My dad is from there. Well, he was born in Morocco, but he grew up in Israel. I have a lot of cousins and aunts and uncles there. So I do not expect the average American to have the same affection toward Israel that I do. That would be unfair, you know? So I acknowledge my bias. And just as long as you don't have a hatred of Israel, then I don't care. A lot of people are saying, we need to stop supporting Israel and stuff. I can tolerate that as long as you don't like say, oh, I want to destroy Israel. Then I don't care. I can respect anybody who's like, I don't care about Israel. He wants a classist kind of rule, like back in mid. Yeah, I mean, I think he wants like a fascist kind of rule. Um, he's really crazy. Like I think. I mean, I don't know if he has a well developed enough thought process to actually say what he wants. It's kind of like how Ben Shapiro had that meme, like of Tucker Carlson saying America should be gooder. Like that. That I think is the extent of his actual policy ideas. I don't think that he has it well formulated. Like, oh, I think we should get rid of crime. Yeah, we agree. We should get rid of crime, but there's going to be a trade-off if you start going after everybody on the homeless on the street and stuff. That's gonna First off, it's going to be expensive, but secondly, you're going to be really taking away a lot of people's civil liberties. So It's not so easy to just say you want to get rid of crime. No, I did not watch that debate. I did not watch that debate. Um, this was recent debate, right? Nick Fuentes recently has been saying a lot of good stuff, and my respect for him has gone up over late. I know he's a Jew hater and everything, and so I don't want to prop him up too much, but when he goes after Tucker and Candace and other Jew haters, I like it because he has some more credibility with that crowd. You know, when you see Jews going after those people, it's like, okay, well, yeah, you expect that. But when Nick Fuentes goes after them, it means a little bit more. And so I kind of like that. Yeah, I think Tucker is, I think Tucker is doing some possibly treasonous activity. If he was really used, and I'm not saying that I know this, but if he was really used to leak misinformation to Iran, do you remember this story? How before the attack on the first day of the Iran war, Tucker Carlson was invited to the White House. And a lot of people were like, this is kind of disturbing. Why is Trump having Tucker at the White House? But then it came out that maybe they were using him to leak misinformation to make Iran think that there was not an attack coming. And so, if Tucker is actually leaking misinformation, if he's actually giving information to the enemy, that is treason. And it seems like he could be doing that with Russia. He has this big soft spot for Russia, which you know I was kind of with him on, like, in general, that we shouldn't just be giving Ukraine endless money and stuff. Um, but I never understood the certain segment on the right that is like pro Russia. You could be against giving all of our money and military hardware to Ukraine because it's just not our fight, but still acknowledge that Russia started this war and Russia is the aggressor here and Russia is not our friend. Yeah, but not just a trap. I mean, definitely a trap, I roll, but treason. Yeah, it would be illegal. It'd be treason. I don't know all the facts and everything to, this is kind of, you know, I feel like right now, because especially since Tucker is now saying that he wants to start a third party kind of thing, if Trump were to go after him legally, or the Trump DOJ were to go after Tucker, uh, that would cause quite an uproar, and it would, it would kind of resemble, I'm not saying accurately, but just to some people, it will kind of look like how Biden went after Trump. Even though when Biden went after Trump, it was just for fucking nonsense. Um, yeah. So anyway, so that's why I think maybe why they're not doing this. They're not opening case against Tucker right now. It could be really bad optics. Dubious of JD. Yeah, me too. Me too. I'm just gonna be honest. I hope if JD comes out and just completely renounces Tucker, then that will really assuage my concerns about him. Um, but he hasn't done that yet, and that's really problematic to me. I worry about where JD lies in it, where he stands. Um, like during the election, I was fond of JD. Thought I didn't really know much about him, but I thought he seemed like a decent guy. Um, but his closeness with Tucker is really concerning to me, and not just that, but like kind of he seems to be like playing into that. Um, yeah, I mean, look, I prefer Rubio 100%. Voting JD over any Democrat, it depends. If he's really influenced by Tucker, as a Jew, that really does kind of scare me. Um, it's not an Israel thing; it's a Jewish thing. I always put America's interests over Israel. America's my country. I do care about Israel because I have family there, but and I also happen to think that Israel's in the right, but I I'm worried about. Yeah, JD needs to really come out and denounce Tucker. Can you guys give me 1 minute to just get something to drink? Don't go anywhere. Can I think of a Dem that wouldn't be horrible? Well, there's different types of horrible. There's different types. And I was just thinking about this because there's kind of like the status quo horrible. These are like the slimy, typical Dem. Like, for example, Newsom. Let's just look at Newsom. And you guys, it's okay that we disagree, okay? You're still my friends. We can all disagree whenever we want. But if like Newsom were to get to be president, I think it would just be he's just a slimy Democrat. He's a slimy Democrat, very typical. He's not going to turn the country into a he's going to make it worse. It's going to get worse. He's probably going to open the border to an extent. I don't think he's going to go nuts like Biden would. Probably raise some taxes, but kind of just the normal slimy Democrat that we would be able to lay low for a few years and survive. Now, if we got to somebody like Mamdani or Sanders, they would actually start instituting policies that would really ruin this country and turn it into a communist shithole. Right? So, does that make sense? Kind of like isn't David Sachs? No, I'm thinking of Jonathan Sachs. There is this Jewish person that goes on Tucker that is like a self-hating Jew kind of guy, and I think his last name is Sachs, but I don't know if it's David Sachs. Um, but anyways, like Gavin Newsom, I feel like we would survive the same way that we. Well, Biden was really bad. Biden was really bad, but I think that like a Gavin Newsom would be something that we could survive. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know a lot of people have a lot of hate for Gavin, but I feel like he's just a typical slime ball. He's no worse. than any other typical slimy politician. Um, why does Julian look like the guy there? Maybe Julian is Tyler. He does. He does look like, especially with that hat and the sunglasses. Yeah, eclectic journalist. If it's somebody that's like a foreign policy analyst that is Jewish but goes on Tucker Carlson, then he's self-hating Jew. I mean, just like Glenn Greenwald, another guy that I really, really, really dislike. Yeah, so like personally, and I say this as a Californian, Gavin has not been good, but he's not going out of his way to ruin the country. Like, that is not his goal. His goal is himself. And so I think that we could survive a Gavin Newsom. Like, it would not be the end of the America of America. Now, if Bernie Sanders or Zoran or one of these DSA people gets in, that could start spelling the end of America. You know, Pete Buttigieg is another one that's like, I don't like him. He's probably incompetent, but I don't think his goal is to make America a shithole. Do you guys believe on that? You agree with me on that? David Sachs, Tucker, and Peter. I don't know if it's David Sachs that I'm thinking of. I think it's because the person I'm thinking of is kind of more obscure. So, Nikki, you disagree? You think California burnt because? Yeah, I mean, he's not good. I mean, I'm not singing the praise of Gavin. I'm not singing the praise of Gavin. I don't want you guys to think that I'm like out here endorsing Gavin. I'm just saying that there's levels of shit. You know, there's levels of shit, and I personally think that Newsom is just a slimy guy, but not ideological. Not ideological. Okay, I mean, like Joe Biden did. Oh, you think he'll let his? Yeah, I mean, Biden. We barely survived Biden. We barely survived Biden, and Biden. Biden also I did not think was going to be as bad. I mean, obviously, I voted for Trump, 100%. But when Biden got elected, I said, you know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to do for what the Democrats refuse to do for Trump, which is let's give him a clean slate. Let's give him some runway and give him the benefit of the doubt and just hope that he does the best job for America. That was my view of Biden. And then on the first day, he signed like 100 executive orders that were like seemed designed to make the country into a shithole. So Biden turned out to be a disaster that we barely survived. But again, there's different. I mean, look, can you guys at least admit that Gavin would be better than Bernie Sanders? That's my point. Or Mamdani. And Mamdani can't run, but yeah, we survived Dr. Jill barely though. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, because if you look at Biden back in the day, he was kind of like a blue dog Democrat, right? So he did not govern like that when he was president. Yeah. So honestly, JD just the only thing that scares me about JD is Tucker's influence on him. Again, if JD comes out and says denounces Tucker, or announces him, then I would be cool with JD. I know he's not going to be as pro-Israel as Trump, but that's not my only issue. And again, as long as he doesn't like go out of his way to try to destroy Israel, then I can be okay with that. But it's because of Tucker. Basically, that's it. That JD really concerns me. That's my opinion. Yeah, Biden wasn't in control. Biden couldn't control his diaper. So, but and that's what. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like overly paranoid, but I see Tucker as like a Hitler like figure. He scares me. Like I would be scared for my children's safety if someone like Tucker actually became president. So I know JD is not Tucker, but that's how much Tucker freaks me out. That if JD has it lets him have any influencer say, that really is it's almost a red line. Yeah, Newsom sucks. Yeah, I'm sorry, Newsom sucks. I, I I agree. I'm not a fan of Newsom. I just I don't want to lump everybody into the same categories. There's different levels of shit. There's different levels of shit. Um, like I haven't heard Newsom come out and be like, um, first off, I haven't really heard him come out and be super free Palestine. We gotta eliminate all support for Israel or anything like that. Um, I've heard him say some more moderate stuff when it comes to trans. Not not saying he's on the right side. That's a big issue for me. The idea transing of the kids is disgusting. Um, I don't care about trans stuff when it comes to adults. Just keep that shit away from kids. Um, so I feel like he's not as bad as others about that. He's not good, but he's not as bad as others. Then when it comes to like socialism, I think I don't think he wants to do like abolish private property type thing. Like some of the like the DSA. Like let's put it this way: I don't think the DSA would endorse Gavin. I don't think the DSA endorsed him. So that's a point for Gavin. He's just kind of a normal slime ball. And a lot of people have a lot of hatred of him because he's so slimy. But to me, I would rather a slime ball than a communist. if Candace was running for president and she actually had a chance to win presidency, I would be legitimately scared for my family. Candace or Tucker, if they had a chance for presidency, I would be like really scared. I don't think. I think that maybe if we think that that's a possibility, we're probably spending too much time online because I don't think that the normal everyday American would ever vote for either of those two people. Yeah, I don't think the Grapers would vote for JD. Yeah, I mean, look, again, all JD has to do is say, I really don't agree with Tucker Carlson. He's not going to have any influence on me. And then I'll be behind JD. I won't like him as much as Marco, but I'll be like, okay, I can live with him. But he hasn't done that yet. And to me, it's like, why? Why is he not willing to do that? Can someone tell me why he's not willing to do that? Because either A, it's because he agrees, or B, it's because even if he doesn't agree, he would rather keep that contingent. And it's kind of like a big fuck you to the Jewish community. So that's my problem with JD. It's not. Yeah, I disagree. I think the whole Iran MOU showed like a lot of naivete, but whatever. Somebody's not going to agree with me 100% on everything. Um, it's really only Tucker Carlson's influence over him that is bothering me. Yeah, well, if he's hoping the problem's going away, it's still kind of like a fuck you to the Jewish community because the Jewish community is really anxious about Tucker, like influence over him. So he needs to man the fuck up and say I'm not with Tucker on these things. If AOC or Candy, okay, here's a question for y'all: AOC versus Candy. I'm gonna vote for AOC. I know that sounds impossible, but I don't think AOC is a sociopath that laughs at widows, right? I think she's just an idiot. I think she's just an idiot that is very naive, kind of like a drama kid, stupid idiot. Probably would ruin the country, but is not evil in that sense. I think Candace Owens is legit evil. And Marco even no, and I someone just told me yesterday that Trump told a group of donors that he's going to be endorsing JD. I don't know if anyone else heard that. I roll who AOC was cruel about Charlie. Yeah. Hey, listen again. We're like talking about the bottom of the barrel here, which one of them stacks slightly above the other bottom of the barrel. I'm not talking about anybody that is I actually like. Yeah. Candy's not going to run for president. She couldn't do that. Whoever suggests that is just an idiot. Who says that? Carrie Prejean Bowler? She's a Jew hater. I'm not sure. You think AOC is a Stalin? Come on. Come on. We gotta. I can't refuse to pick. Like, yeah, I mean, I understand. I understand. It's like, who do you want, Hitler or Stalin? Like, doesn't pick your poison. I get you. But I don't think AOC is gonna like. I don't think she's evil in the sense like I want to go out and kill people. I think Candace is evil like that. Yeah. I, I I can imagine Tucker Carlson running more than Candace. I think like Candace. I think outside of her cult following, which is too big, but outside of that, people don't even like think about her or know her or really. And those that do know of her outside of her cult, the average daily, average American that's not online so much, uh, I think they think of Candace as like just kind of this stupid person that's a joke. Yeah, I just hope it's Marco. maybe JD is also young, so maybe it'd be nice if JD had some more experience also. He hasn't had too much experience. He kind of like just joined the Senate and then just got into the vice president position without a whole lot of experience. So I hope that it's Marco. I've been a fan of Marco even the first time he was running against Trump. I voted for Trump, but I thought Marco was a good alternative. He seems kind of like your standard. He's very bright. I like Marco. You think AOC is a true believer in whatever her Stalinist handler tells her to say? Hence, I don't know. I think AOC she's just kind of like a drama girl that is playing a part. It's all performative, really. Like I think she probably believes what she has to say, but like I don't know how to put it. I don't think she's filled with malice. I don't think she's filled with malice in the same way others are. I think she's an idiot, which can be more dangerous. As I said, an idiot in power can be more dangerous than somebody who's malicious, because somebody who's malicious might just choose whatever is to their benefit, which might be, ironically, also to what's in the benefits the public. So it could end up, they could end up putting in good policies. Just because they're malicious doesn't mean that they would have to go out of their way to put bad policies, right? They could just be all about themselves. Um, to an extent, I think Trump is kind of, and I'm not saying this as a denigration, but I think that he's very vain. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna admit it. I think he's vain, but part of his vanity is that he wants to make America really great, so that he'll be remembered as a really great president. And so I don't really care what his motivations are, because he's doing policies that are making the country better. So I don't care if it's for selfish reasons or if it's for altruistic. It doesn't make a difference to me. Now I don't think he's a bad guy at all. He's kind of vain. You guys have to admit that Trump is kind of vain, right? Like everything has to be named after him and stuff. But yeah, exactly. I roll. She's more of an influencer than serious politician. By the way, anyone, if there's another live going on that we should all join, then let me know. I'm just keeping this going so we all have a place to chat. Nikki, are you cool? Are you okay? In your weird state of struggling? Hey, Jujubee. Yeah, Nine Toe. I really like Trump. There's very, very few things that Trump has done that I dislike. Um, but I think that he is a vain person. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has flaws, and to me, that's not that disqualifying of a flaw. Did you be? It won't be JD. I'm sorry, Van Cruz. Um, yeah, I like Trump. I like Trump. I like him. My point was that just that I don't really care what people's motivations are. If they're doing good policy that's good for the country and good for me and my family, then I don't care if it's for selfish reasons or if it's for altruistic reasons. It doesn't make a difference to me. Yeah, and that's another good point, Van Cruz, is that Rubio, I think, has a better chance of actually winning a general election than JD. Even if JD has a better chance of winning the primary, I think Rubio's better in the general. So I'm sorry, Van. Are you talking about your mom? I'm sorry. My condolences. Sorry, I'm missing, some of the back and forth, so I'm not sure if I'm responding appropriately to everything. I'm sorry, Van Cruz. It could be Nikki. It could be on my end also. Here, I'm getting some lag. You know what? I think I'm gonna call it a night, you guys. Um, Thank you so much. Keep helping me promote my channel. I love you all. Oh, we got someone new here. Hey, Walters Uptrack. Go ahead and hit a subscribe, please. I haven't met you yet. But you guys, thank you for keeping me sane, for watching my channel, and I'll do the second Julian podcast tomorrow. Okay, if I get some time away. Good night, everybody. Get some rest.